Hi, welcome to another episode of Through the Web podcast with me, Dagogo.
And me, Tawsif.
How you been? What's been
Good.
going on?
I've been good, and you?
Yeah, not too bad. Just doing the usual and not much else to add really.
Well, the weather's heating up.
Yeah, it's getting warmer, which is good.
It's different in this part of the world. So for those listening in from the US, you'd be like, wait, what? Climate change is real.
Yeah, we're experiencing 30 degrees, and that's not in Fahrenheit. But it's good to have warmer weather. I feel like, I don't know, winter's kind of stuck around a bit longer this time, I think.
I think it's slowly creeping in towards the latter half of the year. That's what I've been feeling anyway.
No, I have that sentiment, and then you end up with this scorching hot summer that just lasts a long time as well.
Yeah, and I think usually the summer would have ended around like January, February-ish, but now I feel like March is when it kind of creeps into, and then a little later is when our winter starts anyway.
Yeah.
But do you like summer or winter more?
Oh, definitely summer.
Summer?
Definitely, yeah. Because winter, I don't know if I'm not built for it or what's going on, but I don't know. I just hate being cold. It's just not a thing I'm good at. And then when I put on more layers, I tend to get like clammy. So it's like I can't really win. It's just not good. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, because you can, but then you can always put up more clothes.
That's what I mean. Cold. But when I do it, I feel uncomfortable. So it's just, yeah. What about you?
I actually don't have that much of a preference. I like summer, like going out in summer and stuff. But for winter, I feel, I also enjoy kind of staying indoors at times when I like when it's raining outside and you can kind of cozy in indoors and start to see a movie or something. But yeah, with summer evenings, especially in Australia, it's beautiful. I love summer evenings.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing. Like when it's a warm night, it's good. So have you watched anything interesting this week?
I've watched a few things, but I think the one that I want to talk about today is actually a podcast episode. So it's from this show called Build for Tomorrow, and the episode is all the fun facts that you've got wrong. So I enjoyed the podcast in itself because it's one of those podcasts that's very optimistic about things, and it looks at historical things and how people react to historical advancements and how we react to today to advancements as well. So it gives me a lot of interesting perspective. I learned a lot of new things there as well. So for example, there was a great episode about headphones when the first time headphones came out and how everyone was saying headphones were like, it's going to destroy humanity. It's going to destroy society. There were like laws against wearing headphones in public. People would be demonized if they were, seen in public wearing headphones. And there was like laws against wearing it on the streets and crossing the road. So very interesting, attitude towards that.
When was that? Was that like the 50s?
80s. 70s or 80s. When I guess headphones became more popular with Walkman. Things of that sort. Not so much for work regulations, I don't know, like in air traffic control rooms or something like that. But yeah, great podcast. So there's an episode that they have called All the Fun Facts That You've Got Wrong. And one thing in particular, because they talk about a lot of different things, and like how goldfish has 3 seconds memory or something like that, or 10 seconds memory. That's not true, for example. So, he goes in depth about that. But sorry.
I was just going to say, definitely link this to me because it sounds interesting.
Yeah. But there's one in particular that I wanted to kind of bring up is there's this common myth, basically, or common knowledge that lemmings are animals that has mass suicides, apparently. Yeah. And do you know how it started?
The game?
What game? Is there a game?
Oh, really?
I don't know what game is this.
Awesome.
Oh God, am I out of the pop culture circuit?
No, like this was a 90s game, a classic. Like it was just called Lemmings.
Oh really?
Yeah, and what you had to do,
no idea.
You started from one area and you had to get them to another. It was like either a maze or some obstacles or whatever. And you had different tools, like you could have a lemming like sit here and make them kind of bounce off it and go down. They all marched in a line essentially.
Wow.
And it was kind of playing off that thing where they all like fall off a cliff and everything and whatnot. Right. So I thought it was from there, but I don't know.
So and this was in the 90s?
Yes.
Right, that's interesting. So apparently the saying has been around for a while, I think around the early 1900s or something, about lemmings, committing mass suicide, going off of a cliff. They all fall one by one, right? But the way it was popularized was through actually a documentary called White Wilderness, and was by Walt Disney. And this was in 1958. So they produced this documentary called White Wilderness, and it was part of Studio's True Life Adventure series. And White Wilderness featured a segment of Lemmings, which was showcasing the strange compulsion to commit mass suicide. Now here's the thing: White Wilderness was filmed in Alberta, Canada, which is a landlocked province and not on location of Lemmings' natural habitat. So what they did is there were about 20 lemming species found in the circumpolar north, but evidently there was none in that area of Alberta. So the Disney people, they bought lemmings from Inuit children a couple provinces away in Manitoba. They brought them to Alberta and they staged the whole thing, where they basically created this effect where they basically almost nudged or forced the lemmings to fall off a cliff into quote unquote an ocean, but it wasn't an ocean. It's basically part of the river that's in that area.
But was it? Did they just look like they fell? Or did
So if you actually see
fell?
they actually fell, and I think they ultimately said that they aren't committing mass suicide, but it was part of a migration that they do, and because they are so obsessed with migrating that they're so hyper focused on this migration part is that they fall off a cliff, and they actually show the video as well. So if you see the documentary or the clips from the documentary, it's literal lemmings just falling off of a cliff, which they entirely staged. And they said they don't commit suicide, but it's part of the migration, and then they fall into the ocean, and that's where they drown. So that was the whole premise that popularized the whole idea, and it just kind of lived on for through pop culture, through different. And I think it was in the 80s when, so almost 30 years between the documentary, which essentially was was fake, but it was held as the source of truth for many generations. Even to this day, I'm sure people still believe thing, and I think then the game popularizing that even further. That's just how things spread.
It's interesting because that 30-year gap, like now, is like 1 or 2 years. You know how like something gets proliferated on Twitter, like the fake news or whatever, and then everyone believes it, and then like later on the truth slowly starts to come
I
out.
have a point on that about something that happened this week.
But just before we get onto that, so speaking of animals falling off cliffs, I did see I was shown this. I think it was a YouTube short. So there was this guy. He was in his apartment. Who was just he had a rat problem. So he was opening his fridge, and this rat scurries out, and he has like an open balcony. So it has like the
I think I've seen that one. Just yits up.
Yeah, and this rat just flies off like the 4th story or 5th story.
I know.
Hits the ground.
And the sound.
Yeah, hits the ground and just continues running. Doesn't even take a breath. Nope. It was unbelievable.
I've seen that. I've seen the video.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was like, okay, well, they're built different, obviously.
Did you say it was YouTube Shorts?
Yeah, I think
Did you see it this week?
I think it was last week.
Yeah. So usually there's this joke around how things originated TikTok, and it takes
so
like
long to get to other places.
Months,
you saw it on TikTok, did you?
I saw it like months ago.
Okay. There you go. So
yeah, so it's kind of playing onto that.
So I actually, this is now we're going off on a tangent, but I did have a thought. Like, I do have TikTok installed. I haven't opened it once in like a year and a half. So I'm like, should I just try it out for a little bit? Because I'm just, for some reason, there's this mental blockage that says,
I think try it out for a week where you, again, like you're cautious of how you're using it. Always making sure like, kind of engaging with content that you want to see. Click not interested on content you don't want to see. It'll give you a really good curated algorithm, curated feed. The thing is, it can get really addictive, and that's where I would put in like timer. So I've got like a timer of 45 minutes or 30 minutes a day, where as soon as I know I'm kind of reaching that, my phone says, "Hey, your time is about to expire." Obviously, it's up to you too.
There was a tweet. I have to check the source, but maybe it was not the Bloomberg or the Verge or something, but they said TikTok employees admit that there's a data loophole that could be accessed by the CCP. Yeah, so that's another thing that's kind of like, but then again, it's like your data's out there. So.
That's right.
Okay, so we talked about the rat, and you were going to talk about
thing of information.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I'll bring that up later.
Okay.
Because that's kind of part of the main one of the main stories we want to cover. But yeah, I thought that was a great episode. Anybody wants to learn more about these things? Yeah, I think the episode's called "All the Fun Facts That You Have Got Wrong" from the series called "Build for Tomorrow" podcast.
Okay. Sounds awesome.
The guy who does this, he actually. I think is a senior editor or the senior founder of entrepreneur.com, which is like a big
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
And I think there's some things there. Anyway, I'll let you say what you have seen or might have watched this week.
There's two main ones. So where to start? Okay. So this one was something that I saw a tweet from Sundar Pichai from Google, CEO. He tweeted about the recent Google AI conference that they had, and there was one thing. It was a different like series of tweets, like a thread. But the first tweet just got me, and I was like, oh, "This is insane." So what they've done, you know how you have DALL-E 2, right? Now, in my DALL-E 2 video, when I was talking about it, I was like, what did I say? I think in a year or in 2 years, we'll start to have video. And I thought it was going to be that long, but now they have video. So
because I think we talked about it, didn't we?
No. But this is like proper, like, so they wrote a whole scene, and it's like, so it's like, there's a blue balloon stuck in a tree, and then it floats away, and then like pan over towards the gate of this zoo, and then there's a giraffe, zoom in on the giraffe's mouth, and blah 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 blah. So it's like a full scene that's just like AI generated. So obviously, there's a little bit of coherence issues or whatever, but I'm not looking at that. I'm seeing like a year from now.
Right.
And then this changes everything. Yeah. This is like, I just, I went and watched the actual Google conference and also some other videos that have come out from this AI. And it just strikes me as I'm seeing the future. Like it's just this feeling in me that is like, this is the beginning of everything, So, a lot of people in the comment sections were very excited. Some people going overboard saying like Hollywood's going to be extinct. You don't need them anymore. Don't need cameras.
And I think we covered in one of our special episodes where we talked about AI and taking over music creators and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it's a similar kind of.
It is a similar
for
kind
videos.
Of thing. Yeah, but I do feel for some reason. Oh, they did do a music one in the presentation as well. But I do feel like for some reason, looking at this, I don't think we're that far away from having. I wouldn't say like amateur, but like mid-stage video production that could be done with AI, where it looks a little weird, kind of a little bit weird, but it's still like interesting, like it's still compelling. So that really, I was thinking about that all night when I watched that. I was like, it's crazy. And then the second thing I watched was this streamer who went to the Metaverse. The video is called like I Spent Time in the Metaverse, so you don't have to.
Was it Rantrian? No. No, probably not, because his one is quite older. Yeah.
No, this was quite recent.
Okay.
And yeah, like because I've seen like screenshots, little snippets of the Metaverse, but I haven't actually experienced how it would be like to be in it. But it is, I can't believe it, like $15 billion, and it looks just bad. Just very, very bad. There's elements of it where it's like even just basic things, like whenever the camera would move, there would be like this jitteriness around the edges, like where it would go black. And like he says he streams a lot of VR games. None of them have had this issue. It's just the Metaverse.
So this is the Metaverse by Meta?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the actual Metaverse by Meta. And, just the way some of the text looks on the buttons, it looks like, I don't know, it just, everything looks like it could have been done for like, $100,000 to $1 million. It doesn't seem like $15 billion worth. It kept crashing, like the way the characters looked and animated were just...
Facebook doesn't make good products. Their app, their Chrome, like even like on the website is terrible.
So you know how like Facebook settings are all like a mess and everything?
Yeah.
They got that same design language in the Metaverse. So it's like, why?
It works.
It's like, why would you have
Did you see the MKBHD one? I haven't seen that.
Okay.
Like
it's a good video to watch. Right. And some of the stuff that he demonstrated in that seemed pretty okay, like the AR stuff. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the actual like whole, what are they calling it? Horizon, the actual Metaverse thing. It's I don't know. I don't know if there's just so much money and so much like different siloing and departments and kind of corporate. What's the kind of word? Bureaucracy, where no decisions kind of get made properly. It's not, nothing's really solid. I don't know if that's what's going on, but for $15 billion, I cannot believe. You have to. I should link it to you. Everyone should see this. It's unbelievably bad.
Yeah, just send the link and that to the comment section. And I think a lot of the videos are also kind of going in about how poorly. So there was actually this TikTok where I think was it the Washington Street Journal? I think
Wall Street Journal or Washington Post?
One of the other.
Okay.
They had a TikTok saying where they did this video where they were going to tech execs and asking them to complete the sentence, which was, the metaverse is blank. And they all gave like wildly different answers and I think that shows how it's still so raw, it's still so new. And one of the execs said the metaverse is a very poorly built video game. And I think the way you're explaining, that's exactly what it sounds like, that it is.
Because there are like, but you don't have legs either. That's another thing. So there are other metaverse-y products like VR chat, which has been around for a while. And that's like obviously got a budget less than a tenth of what Meta does. Yeah. But it's so much better. I've seen what you can do in it and how it looks and everything. But even that is better than what Meta's put out. So I'm just struggling. I have to look into it, but I'm just struggling to see what went wrong. I've been hearing articles about the top execs of this Meta project, as in the Metaverse project or Horizons or whatever, leaving. There's been some internal problems. But I just need to know exactly what went wrong, because this looks like something seriously.
I think this is a good enough prompt for you to do a video.
Possibly.
A cold vision video should be on the horizon.
Nice.
But having said that, I think there was a short that MKBH did, and I don't know if that's included in this longer video that he did, but it was him wearing the headset and 3 monitors coming up.
Yeah, so he shows that at the beginning of the video.
Yeah.
I actually did see that on Twitter, I think.
That was pretty cool.
So that's
conceptually.
That's the part of it where I'm like, okay.
That could work.
Yeah, so that's what I said. The AR stuff seems good, but the VR, I don't know what's going on with that. But like getting extra productivity from just like putting on a headset, and it's high enough resolution that it feels semi like you got 3 monitors in front of you. I can see the value in that, but there's still a barrier to entry with like having a headset and having to buy that and all the peripherals and everything. But yeah, I just, for a company to stake the rest of their future on this, they got to do better than that. As in the Horizon stuff, it's horrible.
Yeah, and I think them also acquiring Oculus, again, it seems like an interesting product. There's been some video games that actually do quite well through the whole VR system, but again with the metaverse itself, I don't know. Instagram again also this week apparently they are pushing NFTs back into the whole system again. And I think that TikTok that I mentioned about the metaverse is blank. I think that's where the problem still is that most people don't know what it is and what it represents, what you can do with it. Is just some buzzwords still in the air
at the moment. But I think that will be solved just by what markets do, and that's just they find the killer app, they find a good situation, and then someone sells it.
Yeah, I'd like to hope. Yeah, with $15 billion still.
I don't know. I hope it's Meta, because with that amount of money, that's ridiculous. But yeah, I'm not saying this to write off VR. I think VR has like a lot of amazing applications. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, I went to a escape room that was a VR one, and that was really cool. Like you could you felt like you're working together with a group of people. But you're obviously these different characters in this different environment. And when you take off those headsets after like an hour or hour and a half, and then you walk outside, it's that feeling of I was somewhere else with these people, but it wasn't us. Like it was compelling in a way that I wouldn't say I'm surprised, because I have used VR quite a bit, but yeah, I think there's a strong case to be made that VR will actually have a place in a lot of applications. But I think it's very dangerous for Meta to be pushing such an idea so hard so early before it's developed, and hinging the rest of the company's
Onto
future
this.
on it. I think it's quite risky, but I'm just a guy. So
I haven't, dived into the whole VR world as much. I haven't used the tech on a regular basis. So when you use tech, do you actually feel weird after you take the headsets off? Like, because that has been a criticism of the whole concept of the whole technology that people will lose touch with reality.
Oh, right.
Yada yada yada.
The only way, I wouldn't say you feel weird as in sick or anything, but it's almost like a reintegration into life again. Like you kind of real life, I should say. You kind of look everything for a minute or two a little bit different. You're like, hang on. So the more realistic it gets, I guess the less that would be. But then again, like you can have some fantastical scenarios and environments that would negate that. So I can see some people being locked into that world because it's kind of like you can be whoever you want to and whatever you always wanted to be. And it's a tempting scenario for those who are interested in that kind of thing. So like any technology, there's definitely good and bad to it. So,
with video games, I remember the days when I would play like hours and hours and hours on end, like pulling all-nighters with friends and stuff like that. And after, a really long session, I'm talking my teenage years, right? After a really long session, you feel, like I remember feeling, like a bit kind of dizzy, it just felt like, I'm in a different world because you're in that zone all the time, right? Like you know the maps, the settings and everything's like in the palm of your hands.
I guess I didn't play. I've never played VR long enough to like kind of get that feeling, but
I couldn't really imagine if I did that many hours on a VR game that's realistic. I don't know if I want to do that.
So there's two things. So this is kind of less related, but I remember when I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2, like I'd have dreams about the game. Like But then other people were saying on Twitter, like with VR, they were starting to have dreams where like menus would float and pop up and that kind of stuff, which I guess is kind of expected, but I don't know if that's worrying or not. Like it's kind of like because they were saying that they were spending like 80 hours or that kind of thing, like 80 hours a month kind of thing. So like still quite a lot, but so I don't know. It's one of those things where you just got to kind of see where it goes. But
all right. Well, it's been a week, I think, since Elon Musk has taken over Twitter. He's been at the helm there for a while now. What are your thoughts so far from what you've seen?
I think it's first and foremost quite fascinating to see someone brainstorming, like a CEO brainstorming in public, quite openly. It's like
live tweets.
Yeah, it's quite amazing to see that. But like a lot of people are giving him flack, but I think it's just trying to work out what could work for the company and kind of just sensing what people want. And right now, I think it's too early to say exactly what direction Facebook's going to go in, but from what he's saying, it could be possible that it could be like a what's that? WeChat? What's that Chinese app that has everything? Is it WeChat or is it the other one?
I can't remember the name.
Okay, but that one where you can do like shopping, like transactions, messaging, all that kind of stuff. I think maybe that's the direction he might want to take it. But it's hard to know. It's Elon Musk. He can do anything. So.
Yeah, I mean, within a week, he had this whole conversation about paying for the verification.
$8 a month.
Yeah, it started off with $20, but somehow he's negotiating with people live on Twitter about $8. And also throughout the week, he's been laying off big name execs throughout the company. He's also getting rid of other team members, which was again technically part of Twitter's broader plans anyway. I think he's just fast tracking the entire process. He also is looking to get rid of this rest day, which was a monthly day off thing at Twitter, which was introduced during the whole pandemic, 2020 pandemic. He's also getting rid of remote work as much as he can, bring everyone back to the office. And also he posted a questionable link.
Replying to the Nancy Pelosi thing, right?
Yeah, where essentially there was an assault in the house, and then he tweeted this thing where he said that not everything that meets the eye or something like that, like not everything seems as it meets the eye, and then posted a questionable link which is known to have some questionable
They said Hillary Clinton was replaced with a body double.
yeah, things like that, for example, that totally destroys credibility for a lot of these types of media outlets or outlets in general. And then he deleted the tweet, right? And I think that's and a lot of people were again a bit, that's if this is the kind of guy who doesn't verify his own posts, is the head honcho for a platform this big. What can we expect of the platform? And I think there's again with everything that he's been doing, I'm kind of mixed as well. For example, posting a link like that, I think is absolutely irresponsible. I think even after you delete it, most people don't know you've deleted it. Most people see it at first, take it at face value, and that's the thing about fake news or half truths on the internet, is that even if you say sorry afterwards, people see more of what you've posted first than your apology or your retractment of the statement, right? So much so, I mean, it's been the thing with Lemmings as well. Even now, people don't know if it's the truth. Many people don't know what the truth's out there, because the thing came out, 3 decades it stayed around, and people are making games, and people still believe in that stuff, even if there's truth out there, right? So imagine with the Twitter, surely that gap's closing down, but the impact of posting questionable things does have have a broader significance, at least in my mind, right? So I think that was totally wrong. But the $8 thing, I think it could potentially work, mainly because I don't know how, like, for example, Facebook, I remember they used to give blue checks to everyone, like random bands and artists, random, public figures. You didn't even need to have certain number of followers. You could have 200 followers, but you could pay someone who would deal with that stuff to get you a blue check. There was no, and even now it's hard to actually get something, even if you apply, there's no set criteria or process. You have to go through someone, right? And I think that really made the thing very messy. Yeah. So I feel that it could potentially work in kind of,
even the playing field.
Even the playing field a little bit. But having said that, again, I also think it's also a bit of a panic strategy that he's introducing, because obviously Twitter is not ready for advertisement to the level of, say, Facebook or stuff, because on Twitter you see everything. I've seen some things on Twitter that I don't think I've seen on any other parts of the internet.
Yeah.
So
Twitter's a weird beast like that,
isn't it? Because it is social media platform, but it's also 4chan a little bit at times. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's X-rated content. So for advertisers, it's a weird place to just advertise freely, right? So I think he cannot get to a point where it can compete with, say, Meta or TikTok.
I wish I could find that article about, like, it laid out some of the stuff that it's been saying, like where he wants to kind of make it a WeChat thing, because there was some things that could address that, like some other features that he wants to build into it that could make it, like in terms of like more so video orientated or things like that. So I think as it stands, it's not a great hub for advertisers, I think, because there's a lot of stuff on there. But overall, I think it'll be so interesting to see what direction he really takes this, because the way Elon thinks isn't like a lot of engineers. Like a lot of CEOs of tech companies. And I don't know if he's going to drive this like an engineering project and be data driven, or is he going to really listen to what people says and then end up being like, 50 things at once and no one's happy, or, like.
Yeah, I think he's a guy who has that mentality of failing in public, right? And that's kind of like the concept a lot of CEOs, a lot of entrepreneurs have is you take 10 different shots, you'll probably fail at 9 and then 1 sticks. And I think that's what he's doing with all his companies, right? I mean, just this week, the test tunnel for Hyperloop. You remember Hyperloop?
Yes, I do.
Exactly. People don't. I'm sure a lot of people, the Hyperloop is totally, but remember 3-4 years ago, he was banging the drum on Hyperloop. Oh, there's so much traffic congestion. Imagine a tunnel, blah, blah, blah. And he was banging that drum, right? So there's a test tunnel that hosted the competitions in 2018 and 19 with student competitions, I think he had. And it's been removed and replaced with parking spots for SpaceX employees this week. So that in itself, obviously, he's not going to talk about that, but that's failing in public, in my opinion. And he's okay to take that risk. He's okay to take, because if Twitter fails, I'm sure in 3 years' time, he'll have something else that he's going to, hype on about, talk about. Remember Dogecoin last year? You know what I mean? And apparently he's going to bring Dogecoin to Twitter. Those are the things he's going to try and experiment and he wants to stand out as well.
And he also did mention that I guess he hinted that maybe he could bring Vine back.
But that's what with Jimmy, Mr. Beast, also kind of getting into that conversation. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so he posted something about that, and then Mr. Beast commented that, maybe if you build up something like Vine, it could be a legitimate competitor to TikTok. And Elon was like, okay, let me get the engineers on. And then he basically green-lighted like a few engineers to get cracking on the source code for Vine. And I think there's actually something there because of the foreign the
geopolitical
risk that America has with China owning the app, and there's daily conversations about how you just mentioned about FCC trying to get into that. And I think there's also where to mitigate that, they were planning to have some American part owners of the app, but now it's
like what Trump tried to do a couple
exactly.
of years ago.
So if Vine does come up as but I don't think
the problem is though, like TikTok. I think I've said this a few times. ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, they kind of started out with the algorithm as the center. They were using AI to coalesce documents and create crazy I think this was years before AI became quite mainstream. So I'm pretty sure that it will be a hard challenge to tackle that with an algorithm that's as addictive as what TikTok is providing. But who knows? I think Vine has that nostalgia plus brand image that could possibly have a big boost at the beginning at least, which
they'll have to walk a very fine line where they don't completely nostalgia bait others into just having a quick kind of jump in because of pure nostalgia and then fall off once they see it's the same old thing. But then they need to have some same old, but also
something new to
entice people that's as addictive as TikTok in some cases. Otherwise, they won't be able to keep people on board. The funny thing is, with Be Real, just yesterday I saw a TikTok video of this girl I follow. She's quite critical of social media stuff. She's very she talks about how social media creeps on, and she does it in very kind of artsy video style way. So maybe it's kind of like scripts her videos. Okay. So she did this video where she's like, oh, it's time to be real. She's just on her laptop, and then she changes her setup and then takes a Be Real thing. Where she's happy watching a nice Netflix thing in her cozy room, and then she puts it down and just stares into blank space for a bit, and then and the caption of the video is like, "Oh, Be Real's starting to feel like just all other apps, right?" And I think that's the sentiment. A lot of you can't. And that's why I go back to saying that these apps they go deep into human psychology.
But it is literally it's as simple as I'm putting myself in public. I need to look the best.
Exactly. There's no authenticity doesn't exist. It just doesn't. No matter how people try to say or package it up, it's you got to be authentic. I think there's some level of authenticity, but nobody is 100% authentic on social media.
Well, look,
and those who are getting cancelled left, right, center.
Let's not go into that.
Mr. Ye is back.
Are we?
On Twitter? I mean, he's back on Twitter, as you mentioned. In the last 6 hours, he's been tweeting crazy. So, and I'm sure that's gonna get him some more headlines, right? So, I think you can't be fully authentic anywhere, really, not just on social media. But just on this whole social media sort of thing, I wanted to add with Instagram, when they copied TikTok as Reels, and now with YouTube Shorts, I've just been noticing how. Because you get forwarded memes, right? From your friends. That's what I used to get. Mostly picture memes, trolls, all that kind of stuff. But over the last 3 months or so, all the memes that I get forwarded are in the form of Reels on Instagram or on Facebook or YouTube Shorts, and I would be very interested to see the the quarterly updates early next year of Meta as how much engagement and user behavior has changed towards people adapting to Reels versus to their regular stuff. Because there was a lot of pushback complaints that, they're changing, they're yada, yada, yada. But
people are using it.
People are using it. And so are my friends. And of course, a few people will fall off and move to other places, as with Twitter. But again, the companies are just going to look at engagement.
Yeah.
And if the engagement is true, they're happy.
I think it's just one of that case where it's like, just look at the data, and you have like all the people who painstakingly paint art and do all this kind of stuff. And we used to have Instagram as just a way to showcase their work, all getting taken by stupid videos. That's what's taking all the engagement. Like, I don't think Meta cares about that. It's just how happy you are is not the end goal. It's how much money.
And even with YouTube, with arguably one of the better platforms for creators, because they quote unquote look after creators more than others. Even that, they care about the engagement bottom line. That's just. I think just today, I think Philip DeFranco was talking about Bo Burnham in his video where he had this older clip, and it just holds true, right? That's not to say it's a inherently negative thing, which a lot of people paint it as. I think, just creators and users in general should just be more mindful. I think that's what you have to be. Just
have you ever watched Facebook Shorts, like on the Facebook platform?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know my parents does.
Okay. Because for the first time I did watch, I don't know how I got into it, but I watched 3, and there were 3 of the worst things I'd ever seen in my life. I'm not joking. It was so bad. So bad. It was not funny. It wasn't entertaining. It was literally a waste of time. And I think what happened was they actually were doing some hack where they make everyone confused and angry to generate clicks, because the videos had no point. Like one of them okay, one of them was like, it was like a shot of this girl filming her phone, just kind of like this, and it was like, when I figured out that he was cheating, and then she just had like this clear plastic bottle, wiped it on the top, flipped the phone around, and took off some blue tack, and that was the end of the video. Like, what does that mean? No one knows. Like, everyone was in the comments like, this is meaningless. There's literally no point. And it was just full of stuff like that had no meaning or point. And there was another one where it was like trying to do this art thing where it was like they had a stencil and they were gonna actually it was on some girl's leg, and he was spraying the stencil of a gecko, and he was like, when I pour this water, you pour this water on your leg, and when you do, it's going to like run down. It's going to look really cool. And then the thing is, I was skipping through the video, and he was saying the same thing for like 7 minutes, saying like, I'm just about to pour it.
How's it going to work?
This was like,
this is a proper video.
Yeah. And it's like, this is going to make it like run down. It's going to be like really cool and whatever. And he just kept saying that. It's like, hold on. And like nothing was happening. And then the water gets poured, and then it doesn't work. And it's unbelievable. And it's got like millions of views.
And I think it's true. And there's this whole the hacks that like bright hacks or like 5-minute hacks and stuff.
Yeah.
Where they used to be initially actual hacks in the past.
I got one more.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the worst one of all. So it was like it just starts off no context with a toilet seat, and it's like what you do is you just drill holes through the edge of the toilet seat. And then you get the rubber bands, and then you put them across. And then so you crisscrossed rubber bands across his toilet seat. And he goes, now you get your pot of spaghetti, and then you tip it in, and then like the spaghetti sitting on top of the toilet seat, like on top of the rubber bands. Like you let that drain, then you put the lid down just to squeeze out the spaghetti, and then you're done. And it's like, what is this?
I think this is all the bright hack stuff that does that, and I think they do it intentionally, like you mentioned, because there's this one where because this became a whole thing, right? Well, I think PewDiePie used to review these videos and it's like what, like this is harder, and that's where the TikTok the most followed guy, Kabilam or Kabilam, however you say his name, he's the most followed on TikTok right now. He's like 160 million followers.
So it's no longer
Charli D'Amelio. No, he surpassed her. He basically didn't speak or anything, so he would.
I know this guy, the African guy. Yeah. He's awesome. Yeah.
So he became huge just by mocking those things, and now he works with Hugo Boss.
Yeah, I've seen like a piece on him. Yeah.
He's full on right now, but that was the the whole concept of these just essentially clickbait videos. Not even clickbait, more like
No, but it's this
intentionally infuriating.
Yeah, but it's this
people.
weird thing where it's like it almost doesn't seem quite human.
Yeah.
Like it's like this weird off. Something's just off. Like an AI kind of thought of it or something. It's just not quite right.
And I think some of these are trolls. Some of these are just because these things are everywhere. By the way, for example,
No, but the thing is, that, like, this is all I saw. Like, there was not a good one.
A good one. And I think that's how you gauge initially, because all my different different platform shorts provide me with different types of niche content. One thing would just be soccer. Like I think Instagram is just mostly soccer and some aesthetic videos. Facebook, for some reasons, all like gym and nutrition videos.
Andrew Tate.
Yeah, and then him showing how, I'm sure. And then TikTok is probably the most well catered to me. But like I said, this is true. Like trolls are there on everywhere. Because I remember just recently seeing this guy on YouTube. You know how there are like 5-8 hour long videos of calming music, and stuff like that. So this guy created this brand new YouTube channel, and he made like a 5 or 6 hour long like relaxing sleep music, with mostly stuff. And around the like 3.5 hour mark, he had like 3 minutes of just ambulance and like sirens going off. So his idea was that he wants to troll people who are just about to go to sleep and just wake them up with gunshots.
I gotta admit, that's pretty funny.
It's pretty funny, but I'm imagining, like, I use some of them, and I'm like, oh God, like, imagine if I was just I had a rough day, all I wanted to do was just turn that on.
This sounds like something I would do when I was like 18 to 20 kind of thing. Yeah.
And that kid, when it was basically a kid who did that, and he was like super proud of it, but then there were not a lot of comments about it. People were just, this relaxing music. So I think people really drifted off sleep by that time. But you know what I mean? Like, these trolls exist probably on all platforms, and I think they just some of them just do it for fun, and some of them are just to engage with.
But like, I think the one with the gecko and the paint, like,
you have something personal against the gecko, dude.
No, because it's like, it was that really high pitched, annoying voice where it's like a science experiment for kids, but it's not really, and then it's just this complete annoyance. That's the whole thing. Wasting of time. Your voice is annoying. The point is stupid. It's like Anyway, I think I'm done. I'm never gonna go on Facebook Watch again. It's like terrible. Except for like when we start uploading, like when Cold Fusion starts.
We have to do that soon. So for those who are listening, and we are planning on doing some stuff. Hopefully by the end of this year or early next year, we're gonna go hard on socials. That's the plan. Do you have a story? Did you have a story to share?
No, I think
I've done. You said something about Ethan Klein.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, this is not related to anything, but essentially, you know how there was the whole Amaranth?
Yeah.
And her husband was abusive. So apparently, Ethan was live on chat, like as in there was the podcast, and they were trying to find out who this guy was. And his name, I guess I'm not going to say the name, but it's a very common name. Oh. And so essentially they got the wrong guy. And then they fought, like his whole audience was like spamming this guy and making his life hell. And they just they doxed him, and it's like, oh wait, no, that was wrong.
That's terrible. I hate that, man. And it happens so much, like online, especially with streamers, like on Twitch. It's a whole thing. And there's this whole thing about this whole concept of Twitch streamers. I think there's a whole phrase for it. I can't remember what it is, but essentially police show up.
I know the one you're talking about, but it's like swatting. Yeah,
swatting. That's right. Yeah, where while you're streaming, people just send FBI or something.
Some people have died.
Some people have died in the past in the US, and it's crazy how people just to see the reaction live.
But I don't know. I think you must be 14, and 2, you must not have like a fully developed brain to realize that these are real people.
Yeah,
these are real people. So
I think one of the recent ones, Ludwig, I think he's getting big on YouTube as well.
I heard about this.
And the police came in, and apparently they destroyed his property because they weren't sure of if it was true or not. Because some of these allegations, are they make it so that they have to barge into your place, which is messed up. It's so sad to see. But that's I don't know. Like, it's just imagine thinking about these things like 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't. Yeah, it's like this is. I don't know. It's some kind of like tech dystopia in a way.
It is. And I think Elon recently said that Twitter brings out the masochist. Masochist? How do you say
masochist?
Yeah, they're masochist in humans.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for internet in general for a lot of people, where people, I think internally,
a lot of people say that, but the thing is, you know, sometimes, okay, so for example, the Facebook videos with the gecko guy and all that. I told my girlfriend about it, and she's like, why don't you just leave an angry comment or whatever? And it's like, it's just not in my nature. It's like, I get angry, keep it to myself, and then move on. I'm like, this is dumb. And then like I see Twitter arguments sometimes, and then I get angry reading them, but then I know I should just leave, you know, like, because this impacts
me negatively.
Yeah, this isn't helping me in any way. It's not giving me any information. It's not.
I used to be very, very vocal, or basically wordy with comment sections when I'd say early 2010s on Facebook, on Twitter. Like I would spend like hours trying to convince anybody who'd debate, you know, on certain topics. And I think 5-6 years ago, I saw this quote where it's like, when was the last time you changed someone's mind by arguing them on the comment section? And the truth was never. And that shifted a lot in me, where I know that whatever I say, 9 out of 10 times, it's not going to change their mind. Their evidence or their comments is not going to change mine, because you know that's what it is on the internet. And even though someone said that, at least there's an audience, you might be impacting like others looking at your stuff. But I think right now the likelihood of a lot of people seeing like a big drawn out argument, unless you're, I don't know, Elon Musk or AOC, is very, very limited, right? Yeah. So there's no point of me getting all angry, spending an hour typing out really coherent thing and pointing out others' grammar mistakes, and it's just pointless at this stage. And like you, I just walk away. It's like because it just gets my heart rate going. It's like, oh man, screw this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
I know the feeling, but I'm just like, it's not helping me in any way. I'm just gonna walk away.
And I think that's again, I think what I'd like for people who use a lot of internet is to get into this mindset, is like looking at yourself as an individual. Like, would you get into this argument in real life?
I think it's probably time to start having, in curriculums, some internet education.
100%.
I think it's time.
It's beyond time. It should have been like 10 years ago. I
well, we didn't know what it was going to be. Like 10 years ago, like Facebook was like, hey, look at my cat. And everyone's like, yay. And they'll clap and that's the end. Like now it's kind of like it's infiltrated into our lives and we need to.
Just this week, there was this woman who tweeted about her Sunday morning or her morning routine, right? She basically tweeted, and she's not like a big celebrity or influencer or anything like that. She's some followers, and she tweeted that, every Sunday morning I spend 3 hours with my husband drinking coffee and discussing about life. This is something I wanted to do all my life, and I'm so glad that I get to do it every day, right? That's her tweet.
Okay.
The comment section, people were raging. It's like, this is what class privilege is like. This is what you get when you're rich. This is what you get when you're this, that. And then people were like, and I wake up with like 50 hours of back pain and I can't move from my bed, blah, blah, blah. And then and then some comments were like, mocking that as well, which were funny. Is like, woman says she has a nice time with her husband every morning. People in the comment section, do you remember the time I was murdered?
So there's a good joke that's kind of a little adjacent but quite close to this. I think it was Ricky Gervais who first said it. It was like, online, the online landscape is like a city, right?
Yeah.
Like a town square, it's a city. And you're walking through and then someone sees a sign that says, free guitar lessons for $10 or whatever.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And then people walking by is like, but I don't want guitar lessons. It's kind of like, fine, well, it's not for you, it's for someone else. Like, people just like to involve themselves in everything and like argue, even though it's not warranted or merited.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know why there's so many people like that. I think if we could see visually all the people that scrolling past that comment of that woman, enjoying breakfast with her husband, I'm sure like 90% would just like be like, okay.
Yeah.
And then like move on. But then the 10% are so vocal.
That's right. The vocal minority.
And I think they've probably got something going on with them and they just kind of
project
need a place to express that, I think. So It'll be interesting to study, but it's definitely a
No,
phenomenon.
I'm 100%. I actually know someone who does study these things.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, she's actually based in Perth.
Maybe we have to get her on.
I know.
Hey, man.
She I think she did her PhD and then works on these things on like psychology of people using social media. So yeah, she'd actually be a great guest. So maybe we'll have her on. But overall, I think with these things, it just some of the things are tone deaf. Like some of the things, like for example, celebrities. Do you remember the whole Imagine song?
Yeah.
So those things, for example, it does feel tone deaf. So I don't know if, but again, this wasn't a celebrity.
No, but like I'm talking about when I'm saying 9 out of 10 people ignore it, I'm talking about just innocuous, just regular, some comment that a lot of people are raging at, but it's not that bad. It's like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, things like that, and people like, and that makes you think, should you not post anything personal at all? Because some people also look at that, I don't have that thing. For example, somebody decides to post something about their partner or takes a nice picture with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and others would be like, oh, lucky for you, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't have a girlfriend, right? I don't have a boyfriend. I've been single for 10 years, right? And it is true because it might impact someone.
But the thing is, if you're at that stage, then just don't look at it. Just
exactly,
move on
and I think the idea
it's like
is
don't project outwards. Like work out what's going on with you.
100%. And I think that's the thing. Like you need to learn to be happy for others, even if you're not in that exact same space. You need to have to be happy. You just don't need to
be angry.
Be angry. I think that's the minimum ask. No need to project hate, like it's literal projectile comments, hatred comments from people. But it's going to be hard not to hate the next story, though.
Well, should I guess? Is it Mr. West?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay,
it's not.
okay.
It's not. We've talked enough. We've talked enough about him.
All right,
It's about Pantone. Do you know what Pantone?
No.
Okay, so Pantone is a company that essentially owns certain trademark for colors. So essentially, they are a book or a gallery of colors that they have. They have use for that others can also. It's like a reference system for colors. I think that's the best way to put it. And the problem is, Photoshop users are furious because Pantone is forcing them to pay $15 for colors. So how this works is designers who use Adobe's Creative Suite tools, including Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, there's a licensing change that forces them to pay Pantone an extra $15 a month or $90 a year to work on signature colors in Adobe's apps. So in recent weeks, Adobe started making this change where they've removed support for Pantone-owned colors, which are the preferred industry standard, from its apps, and then it's leaving countless designers who use Pantone colors with files full of just black colors because they've been using Pantone for this stuff, and it basically comes up with a pop-up message saying that the file has Pantone colors. It's been removed and replaced with black due to changes in their licensing with Adobe. So right now, for example, I'm working on designing a sweatshirt with the company. They're doing it entirely remotely. So we're working on the color green, for example. Now, the thing is, if I take a picture of a color green and then send it to someone via Messenger or WhatsApp or email it, the way the camera processes the image, the actual color, the lighting and all that kind of stuff, and the screen that person is looking at, all of it impacts the true color of the fabric or whatever, right? The thing where Pantone is very useful is they've got certain referencing system. So I can look up that color online and they would have 600C, and I can just tell that person remotely that, hey, can you just pick up a fabric that's 600C? It'll be the exact same color I'm envisioning here. So that's the great thing about Pantone. Now they're using that whole system to license their certain colors, and now they've partnered with Adobe. So now they're just basically, every time you use certain colors there, they're going to charge you for it, which blows my mind.
So I think, I don't know if it's in what kind of law, but there's something called like the laugh test or the pub test, where it's like you ask the regular person, does this seem right? And if they laugh you out, then it's kind of like not. And I think legally this is one of those things. How can you patent and withhold a color? Number one. And number two, what about the swatch thing where you can like color match? Like what if you have the Pantone website and in Adobe you're trying to choose a color and you just use that pen to match it to the. Does that still work? Or
I think that's where the things are a bit gray, no pun intended. But essentially, they're still kind of playing around with it because there's a plugin with Pantone that allows them to actually carry it on, and apparently that's not working properly either.
Right.
Classic Adobe.
Yeah.
But if somebody were
I had some issues this morning, but anyway, go on.
if somebody were to actually match those colors, I think there is ways for the algorithm to pick up. And I think unless you're using like a illegal method or without the internet, maybe that's only where you could get away with it. If you're using their proper system, using the cloud and everything, I think you're definitely going to get detected, and therefore Pantone can easily just remove that color. Then I think, and that's because by law, as far as I know, you cannot trademark colors, right? But I think the way they do it is they trademark the references or the referencing system that they have. And certain colors fall under those referencing systems. So they've started. This was from 2015 when they've started. The
referencing system, but no one had to pay.
Well, not referencing system of 2015, but more. So they've had this for ages. By the way, they had like actual books. So this is a practice, industry standard practice throughout, like fashion designers, interior designers, architects, all that kind of stuff. So they've basically translated that digital to the digital world, and I think that's where. From 2015, I think Adobe and Pantone started working together, and I think it's only this year they've started monetizing this whole thing, which is just another subscription economy thing, which adds no value to anyone.
But I think it's just I don't know what it is. There's something driving this, whether it's shareholders and that whole idea of infinite growth at all costs, where it's like you need to squeeze every last penny out of whatever product we have, no matter how ridiculous, because. There's just something so sinister and evil about this particular thing. Like these are colors. Like why would you have people have worked on things and they suddenly just don't work because it's like wait no, you got to pay for those colors. It's like there's something that just feels really wrong about it,
and ethically as well, right? I mean, like who thought that it would be a good idea?
Well, the shareholders probably.
I'm guessing, yeah, and to roll it out as well because generally people aren't happy. But I'm thinking, again, 15 like people who actually use these creative suites are people who can pay for it again, and I think they're thinking that it's just $15 a month
for colors. But maybe it comes down to the same thing as people complaining on Instagram about their photos being taken over by, Reels and all of this kind of thing, because Instagram is only looking at the data and it's like we can make this much, these people are going to pay for this much, if people are angry, so be it, we're going to make more money, right? So
that's right. Kind of like because again, if a lot of the users for Adobe are also companies, right? For them this is nothing. For this is like pocket money, right? So imagine big architect firms or interior design firms or graphic design firms, like these agencies would just simply pay that extra $90 a year for nothing really. It's the individuals time and time again who get pushed aside. So I think
almost makes me sad. It's like, what does the world come to that we have to pay for colors?
Yeah, and I think no, I don't know if it's greed or if they're actually trying to save face during the whole economic downturn that we're experiencing, the whole world's experiencing, and that's where these changes are happening. I mean, Elon Musk asked for $8 per.
Yeah, but it's not like it's really.
I think part of it has to do with the idea that he's paid $44 billion for this app, and because Twitter doesn't make money like other social media platforms. There's a reason why they were willing to sell. And at that price, which again was just kind of randomly out of the blue, and a lot of people are saying that he had to buy it because he made an offer that changed the share, so he legally was kind of bound for a certain degree. But that strategy of $8, I think, will potentially help recoup some of that. But I don't know. That's more into that. But yeah, that's something. I mean, just our next story is also about Netflix with charging money. Otherwise, you get to see ads on their
$6.99 Australian dollars. Yeah.
And I think it's starting to roll out today, where it'll be offering content without commercials if you pay a certain amount. So yeah, I think overall, like we spoke about Netflix and how, but I think the last quarter they actually gained a lot more subscribers again.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So they had a big rise.
So I have to look into what that was about. Hopefully no like accounting fraud or anything. It's like we'll count these people twice. Yeah, well, this was expected. They were talking about this, I think, in their last shareholder meeting, how they needed to have a certain way to, lower the price because of inflation and all this kind of stuff, and also extra competition and whatnot. So I think this method of having ads plus payment is just one way to do that. But I don't know. They still seem to be in the same position that they always were in, where there's competition that's growing from like Apple TV, HBO, Hulu, all this kind of stuff. So I don't think they're ever going to get back to the stage where it was just Netflix that was the streaming platform. I think it's a different world now, and they're going to have to navigate that.
Yeah, and I think in October they reported 223 million paid memberships globally, compared to Disney Plus, which had 152 million subscribers in August. So again, they're still kind of leading.
They're still
the
the biggest, yeah.
They're still the biggest,
but it's
still
going. The share is going backwards in terms of
and on similar kind of trend. So Amazon recently announced that millions of Australians, or just anybody who uses Amazon Prime, will soon get access to full music and podcast library for no extra cost, which basically is a bold move to kind of go directly against Spotify and Apple in the world of audio streaming. So the streaming service known as Amazon Music would increase the number of songs available to Prime members to 100 million titles. That's a lot of addition for free, by the way. And it will also get Amazon Music's original podcasts ad free. But it comes with a bit of a caveat for existing users. So in order to extend that catalog to Prime subscribers, the company had to eliminate the freedom of playing a specific song immediately. So you were basically stuck on shuffle the entire time. So basically the same thing that Spotify used to do without on their free thing. And basically you won't be able to do playlists and things of that sort apparently as well. So again, Amazon's kind of getting into that market, whilst Spotify and Apple are also beefing with each other. So Spotify has been unhappy with Apple's policy of charging a 30% app store fee for in-app service transactions. While this might not seem like something that would affect Spotify, but since the app is primarily a subscription-based streaming service that allows users to stream unlimited amounts of podcasts and music, it halts Spotify's ability to have users purchase audiobooks without having to give 30% cut to Apple. So this is something that Spotify has been really up against Apple, because they feel that Apple is kind of squashing, competitors. And it was interesting because Daniel Ek actually came out himself, the CEO of Apple, directly against Apple, saying, so CEO of Spotify directly against Apple, and he went. Well, there was some comments underneath his quote where people were just saying that you just build a proper hardware that Apple is doing, so maybe you should get into doing that as well, because that's free market, right? That's capitalism. If they're stopping you, then you should do something better to stop them, which I thought was quite interesting, because the free market is the free market in the world of capitalism, but at the same time, it's funny to see him kind of saying, we're not going to pay 30%, but we'll still use it.
But why is this coming up now?
Because I think they're going into the whole world of audiobooks, as opposed to
that's right.
In the previous price, they were just music.
Yeah. Okay. That's an interesting face-off, really. Apple versus Spotify, but it makes sense. I think a lot of people aren't happy that Apple has this monopoly on that. Wasn't there a legal case against that?
There was, and I think it's not new of Spotify and Apple beefing. They've been doing certain issues. They've been battling certain issues for a while now, and and I think it'll be interesting to see if, I don't know, like could you imagine like a Spotify product that like a Spotify MP3 player or something. They actually have this thing called a car thing. Do you know about that?
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
it's a touchscreen thing.
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, when you said Spotify player, I imagine MP3 player. I imagine like a Zune, like one of the Zune HDs. I thought they were a cool design. You know, like just.
But yet another product that you'd have to carry physically.
I wouldn't mind. I actually like my music separate, even though I don't do it.
I used to do that before
for a long
Spotify.
time.
Yeah, same. I was on that boat, but then I think I migrated way earlier before you did.
All right. I'm still not migrated to Spotify. I hardly listen.
Wait, what? Where do you listen to your music? YouTube music?
I just download it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
Man, you have to make that move.
Well, the thing is, like, I tried it for a bit, but then the algorithm kind of annoyed me for like a while because. So there's two things. So because I have YouTube Red and what the paid one, what I do is like I listen to mixes and either find stuff that I like and then put it in a playlist and then just listen to that playlist and I keep building that playlist on YouTube, or I just listen to my own stuff, which of some songs. It's just like a collection of maybe 6,000 or 7,000 songs that I've kind of been building since I was like 14.
How do you find new music?
YouTube.
So,
because I think
like recommendation from YouTube.
So it depends. Like sometimes it's like a channel that's like really good. The guy knows what it is because it's got a good taste. But then other times it's recommendations because I find that the YouTube algorithm is better at recommending music. It's more similar than what Spotify has. Spotify is like, it kind of sounds like it, but it's not really what I'm after. So I found that over and over again. I'm like, I'll just go to YouTube.
I think, well, for me, it's Spotify algorithm and TikTok. Like TikTok.
Right. I'm sure TikTok would be great.
Yeah, like some of the like sounds that I pick up and I just look at the artists and their music's great. But I know we were kind of going off on time. We'll probably end it on this one. But there's an artist called Steve Lacy who recently got very popular on TikTok. He had an album out, like he's been around for a while, but recently because of a specific song, he got really popular on TikTok. The funny thing is he hates the popularity he's gotten on TikTok because there's one song that's very popular. So in one of his shows, there's a funny TikTok about it as well. In one of his shows on live performances, because on TikTok you only get like 20-second, 30-second snippets of a song that gets very viral, right? So he starts playing this song and it's the first 20 seconds, right? Everybody's like singing and jamming and then after 20 seconds, only like 10% people are singing and 90% is quiet. And then he takes the mic and goes like, why aren't you guys sing? Come on, sing the next part, And then it's like, nobody's singing.
Yeah, but I don't know.
It's so sad.
Yeah, that's kind of a sad thing though. It's like,
and that's why I think like being viral on these platforms, I think serves. Because the thing, I am a fan now. I've been listening to his songs because of that. But then you'll also get along with this.
Don't.
You'll also get like a big chunk of these new group of followers who are only there for clout because that song's popular right now and you're popular right now, but they're not gonna follow through, right? So as an artist, do you want that? Is the question like, do you want to expand enough to still
it's
get
better than nothing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think you got to be okay that's how people consume music these days. So
from Facebook geckos to only knowing 20 seconds of a track, I think my favorite humanity is
it's going down like the Lemmings.
That's a good place to end this one, I think. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something and didn't get too annoyed with our frustrations of the internet culture.